Hello, it's the For Friday Q&A and I've got a load of questions, so I'll answer them. From the EPROM 9, is there any course or subject you regret not taking up back in education or wish you had taken up? For me it is A-level maths. University has changed my attitude to maths and it would have given me slightly more choice as well as made certain aspects of the course I did much easier. Yes, even for me it is maths, but O-level maths. I didn't get to do O-level maths. I got a CSE grade 2. I could have got an O-level. I have the ability. What I'm going to blame it on the teacher, really. I moved up from set 3 to set 2, which meant from the CSE group to the O-level group. But the first O-level teacher we had for maths was a very, very intimidating man, and if you didn't understand what he had explained, he would mock you in front of the class and intimidate you in any way possible and make you feel very foolish. And I did not thrive in that situation. I hated it. I avoided the lesson quite frequently because he scared me, and that is no way to teach. And then he was replaced with another teacher who was completely the opposite. He knew the subject, he understood maths and how it works, but he could not teach it. He couldn't explain it and he couldn't control the class. So maths lessons then were just mayhem and I learned nothing. And so I gave up, stopped trying, didn't even get to sit the O-level. I was deemed not good enough and I was put in for CSE. Meh. That's held me back immensely over the years, so I would say I wish I'd tried harder. Fact is, I think even just trying harder would not have helped with the teachers that I had. I had one day, it was a snow day, and the kids that turned up who had maths were all put in together, and the teacher we had was the set 1 maths teacher. And it's no bloody wonder the kids in set 1 did well at maths, because their teacher was fantastic. She taught us a thing that I've been struggling to get my head around for ages, and she showed us how to do it in like 5 minutes flat. And I just thought, wow, why has no one ever explained it to us like this? So, yeah, my problem with maths, again, is retention. I can learn the stuff, and I have no problem learning it, but I can't retain it. It's just a few days later, it's all gone. And that is a problem when it comes to exams. Oh well. Anyway, ScribbleSamAnimation. 4 questions. That's just greedy. Would you say For Friday is the new Friday Talkie? No, it's For Friday. Friday Talkie, I pick a subject and I talk. Usually it was like 3 subjects and a shout out. It had a very specific format. This may or may not be as good. The difference here is I'm not picking the subject. So it is different. But if you like sitting and watching and listening to me talk at length for 45 minutes, an hour, something like that on a Friday, then maybe it's just as good. It's not for me to say. To me it's not the same thing, but it fills the same slot and for the same kind of time period, and it is me talking to the camera. So, not for me to say. Yeah, I've got a hair on my lip. I just trimmed my beard a little bit. Just because it was covering my lip. I'll probably edit that out. You didn't need to know. What are your opinions on Weird Al Yankovic? I don't have opinions. What I have is a complete lack of interest. That about covers it. No, he does nothing for me whatsoever. I don't find him entertaining or even amusing. He's just like not interested. 4. Are you interested in learning Japanese and or any other language? No, not remotely. I've never left England. Probably not very likely to. No, not interested in learning another language at all. Typical British attitude. We don't do other languages very often. It's alright, not everyone, but it's go abroad, speak English, expect everyone else to speak English. It's shameful. It really is. I think, okay, when you're on holiday, fair enough, but people who go and live abroad and expect everyone else to speak English, well, that's just a height of arrogance. I wouldn't do that if I was going to go and live abroad, but I'm not even planning to go on holiday abroad. So, no interest in learning a foreign language. FiXato. If you had to sell or otherwise get rid of 10, or whichever arbitrary number you fancy, systems in your collection, which would those be and why? For instance, because they are taking up too much space, would yield the most money, offered the least enjoyment. Okay, I'm not going to come up with an arbitrary number. I'm just going to have a think and say, what could I sell under, or what would I sell under certain circumstances? If I was desperate for money, I would sell my Amiga. I hope I never have to. And the Jupiter Ace, Memotech MTX 512, and the Enterprise 64, and probably that Commodore PET. They would make the most money, I think, and their Amiga 4000. If I was getting rid of systems just because I wanted the space and they just really don't do it for me. God, so many. There are so many where I have no emotional connection and not really much interest in playing them. All of the Spectrums, all of the Commodore stuff that isn't Amiga, yeah, I'll leave it at that. The Spectrums and the Commodores, because while they're everyone's favourite 8-bit systems, I actually don't really give a crap about them. I wasn't into the Spectrum back in the day. I wasn't into the Commodore 64 back in the day, or the VIC-20 or the C16. They're like, meh, I just don't care. The Sinclair, only the Spectrums. I would keep the ZX80 and the ZX80 I would sell if it was a getting money thing. But for just clearing space, I would keep the ZX80 and especially the ZX81. I really like the ZX81. It's so crap, it's brilliant. Yeah, so maybe not precisely the answer you were looking for, but that's about the best I can do. Not sure I'm going to pronounce this right. Sleven324. Is there a system that you don't have that you would like to get? There are lots of systems that I don't have that I would like to get. Tons of them. I would like a Computers Lynx. I would like a TRS-80 Model 1 or a working Video Genie. And Color Genie. A friend of mine has got my Color Genie to have a look at it, but it doesn't work, it's never worked, and I would be surprised if it ever did work, which is no disrespect to his abilities, it's just knackered, I think, but there you go. Yeah, other stuff? I mean, consoles. There are not many consoles that I don't have that I think, oh, I really wish I had one of them. Not many at all. There's plenty that I don't have, but mostly I don't really care. Just those few computers, maybe an Apple IIe, the Euro Plus or whatever, something like that, maybe. Yeah, it's about all. There's tons of stuff that I don't have, but I'm like, there is a time I cared more than I do now, because I'm kind of past collecting now. I've filled the room, I've run out of money, and I've got enough to keep me occupied for years and years and years. And mostly, in fact, when I am like doing gameplays, I've got older computers that I could do videos of games on, but I don't, because you'll notice I'm mostly doing slightly more recent console games because it's easier. Less effort for more payback, if you like. There's more. I find I enjoy the more recent games more than if I was playing an old 8-bit computer that had taken me 20 minutes to load the game. So while I wouldn't say my interest in old computers has waned, my urge to buy them, yeah, I don't crave them anymore as much as I did, perhaps. Okay, Mr. Buck 295. What console do you play the most, and what game do you play the most, even if the game is on a different console? Thanks in advance. Does this have to be retro? Because the answer is not retro particularly. Mostly I play the PS3. The game I play the most is Battlefield 4. On a retro system, PS1, Gran Turismo 2, I guess. So not ever so retro, really. Okay. Chris James. This is a bit of a complex and philosophical question, but I would be interested to hear your answer. I have my own opinion and will answer it myself once you have. I gather you are not enamoured with modern console gaming, partly due to technical issues, but also because there is nothing significantly new in the medium. That is pretty true. Do you think there's nothing new due to commercial pressures, due to hardware limitations, due to a lack of imagination, due to the fact that the existing games are selling, therefore there's no need for anything new, or some other reason? It is the commercial pressure and what they're producing sells well, so they just keep churning it out over and over and over and over. They do that because it's selling, so that is a commercial pressure. Yeah, it's not a lack of imagination, but because the teams that develop the games are so massive, they'll have like a group meeting. I guess, I don't work in the industry, so I can only assume. They'll have their designer or design committee decide what the game is going to be and how it's going to work and stuff. And that's fixed. And then the production team, the programmers and artists and musicians and blah, 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 the whole lot, then work towards that goal. And there is, because it is such a big operation, there is no room for flexibility. There's no room for changing direction. There's no room for innovation. They have the idea, they do it, and that's that. And the idea is probably not going to be massively original because it's designed by committee. And the end goal is make as much money as they can. And of course they're just largely going to look at what has been done before that made money. It's not always the case, though I can't think of anything on this generation, or even the last, that really stood out as being different. The last time I remember seeing something that was like, this is really different, there's nothing like this, is Shadow of the Colossus. And I mean, that will have been a fair sized team, but they get bigger and bigger and bigger now, and there is just no room for fresh ideas or flexibility. No one halfway through thinking, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this instead? They can't do that because they're committed. It's a shame, but that's the price you pay for having massive high production values. Obviously indie games, you can have more originality and flexibility, but you don't get the production values. You get cute, fun, little running platformy things or whatever, but you don't get a massively original, brilliant, amazing, mind-boggling concept with amazing visuals. I don't think we're going to get that. I don't think we're going to get anything we haven't seen already, and it's a shame. It really is. The only reason to upgrade these days is because prettier graphics and not much else. Oh well. Panini Matt GFC 1893. That was an easy name to say, wasn't it? Okay. Do you think it time to set the record straight and say E.T. on Atari 2600 is not the worst game ever? High Tech Expression must be the worst games company of all time. Their games are just so poor and unplayable. It unreal. Yeah, like your grammar. My worst game of all time is Spice World on the PlayStation 1, knocking Bride It on Amstrad CPC to the number 2 spot. So, Sir Steve Benway, what is your choice of worst game ever? Worst game ever, to me, is... I said this in my last video, but that was just such a dog's dinner of a paragraph. I had to read it all. Sorry. Maze Eater is the worst game ever made, as far as I'm concerned. E.T., you know, I can't have an opinion on E.T. I have, shockingly, never played it, ever. I've seen it, I've watched videos of it, I'm aware of its appalling reputation, and how it supposedly caused the crash, you know, the gaming crash in the 80s. Meh. No one game caused the crash. That's absolutely true. That was just the market being flooded with shite. Sound familiar? Maze Eater is the worst game I've ever played. Worse than anything that ever came out on the Atari. Yeah, no, it's on the VIC-20. I don't know anything about the games that you mentioned. I've not tried them, so I don't know. But yeah, I think that answers that. The Rangers Rule 68. What was your biggest case of buyer's remorse with a console or computer? I don't think I've ever had buyer's remorse with a computer, ever. I've never bought a computer and thought, wow. Well, no, I mean, apart from when I bought like a retro computer off of eBay and it's not worked. That's been pretty annoying. But I've never bought a working system and thought, God, I wish I hadn't bothered with that. Games, well, I don't know if I would say buyer's remorse, but like the most disappointing game that comes to mind that I paid full price for was, and I've forgotten again, I think Sackboy, and yeah, thingy, what's it called? Little Big Planet. That's been the biggest disappointment. Buyer's remorse, do I wish I hadn't bought it? Not sure. Not sure. I suppose it's worth having played just to have an opinion on it, maybe. Give a different perspective on it than most of the people who have played it and rave about it. It just didn't do it for me. Too steep a learning curve and too easy to forget what happens and what you're meant to do. Okay, here we go. Snestastic, you're being greedy for questions. Actually, I mean, there are fewer questions this week, so it's okay. Which is your favourite joystick and why? Joystick, easy. Really, really easy. I don't care about your fancy joysticks. I know there are lots and lots and lots of joysticks that work better than this. I've got tons of joysticks in the loft. I've got quite a lot of joysticks knocking around in here. But this, it's because it is so iconic. It's the first joystick I ever had on a home system. And it is still, if I'm playing, say, on my Amiga, or any other, well, it was always my Amiga. And it was a joystick powered game. Like, my friend would always want the Mega Drive pad plugged in, but me, this, always this. It's iconic and it works in a way that I'm used to, I think. I know how responsive it will be, how much pressure I need to make it respond. Yeah, it just became second nature using one of them, and it's always my go-to joystick. Question 2. Age-old question, Commodore, Speccy or Amstrad? Amstrad. I don't consider myself an Amstrad fan by any means. I don't really like Spectrums, I don't really like Commodore 64s, and I'm not Amiga, but I mean, I'm going to assume we're talking 8-bit era, and I don't even think Amiga is Commodore. Amiga is Amiga, and I mean, it was successful despite Commodore, not because of them. Amstrad. Of those three 8-bits, I find it the best compromise. It didn't have the best sound. It possibly had the best graphics, though maybe not the best sprite capabilities. Not sure about that. But I liked the compromise, and I preferred the Z80 over the 6502 type chip. Didn't like the need to use the monitor or a modulator. I found that stupid. But overall, yeah, it's my favourite. But if you were to say to me I would need the Acorn Electron to be included in which is the best, and I I would say the Acorn isn't the best by any means, but it would be my favourite because it's the one I had back in the day. But of all of the 8-bits, which now do I have the most fun and entertaining time using? ZX81 is the crappiest by far, but I find it by far the most amusing. I like the underdog. 4. What has been the most seminal moment for you during your gaming career? I have no idea. It might actually have been when I got up to level something stupid. Was it 7 or was it 9 or something on the Star Wars arcade cabinet? Replay Blackpool in May while a friend of mine, in fact 2 friends of mine, were watching. That was cool because I just went on there and said, well, I ain't going to get very far on here, so don't worry about recording it. And then I kicked its ass, and that was just utterly cool. Because I know there are frequently, if not always, doubts about my ability to play games, anything other than badly, and that was like a really good demonstration on what is my favourite arcade game. So yeah, that was a great moment. Well, I've ripped through them a bit quickly this week. Lilac Floyd asks, if you could go back in time for one day, what year would you go back to and what would you do? The time travelling rules are up to you. Like you, my favourite film is Blade Runner, but I've never read the book it was based on. Have you read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Okay, I'll answer the second part first. Yes, I have read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I've also read the 2 sequel books by a guy called something Jetta. They were sequels to the film, and they played on the continuity error with the number of replicants that were supposed to have slipped through or whatever, because in the original cut of the film he got the line wrong. They were shitty sequels. They're not worth your time. Don't bother with them. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is a good book. How similar is it to the film? In concept, it is similar. But the film doesn't stick to it all that closely. The language that's used, the words that are used, are very different. The film, I enjoyed the film a lot more. It's a good book, but it's... Philip K. Dick is kind of... I can't even explain it. It's kind of edgy, and it's kind of dry, and it's kind of a little bit panicky. Which is not surprising because the guy was on speed most of the time. He was doing some serious stimulants and was fairly out of his head. Yeah, would I recommend... If you're a fan of the film, would I recommend reading the book? You don't really need to. You won't gain anything from it. It is not so closely tied in that you will learn something about the film. You'll just be forever thinking, well, that didn't happen in the film, or they didn't call that. It's different. It's safe to say the film is based on the book fairly loosely. If I could go back in time, what would I do? Well, I kind of talked about this once on my Benway's World channel. I would go back and stop what's-his-face. I would go back to like 1914 and stop... I've forgotten his bloody names. I can't remember them. Princip. Thingy, what's-his-face Princip from shooting Franz Ferdinand. And see what happens, because would it prevent World War One, which would then prevent World War Two, which would prevent the crisis in the Middle East, which would prevent the whole ISIS bullshit that we've got now, and the whole Russian bullshit that we've got now? Would all of that change or not? If anything, I would go and whisper in Princip's ear and say, don't shoot Franz Ferdinand, shoot Franz Joseph. You'd probably still have a war, but Franz Ferdinand was a vastly more reasonable person. There will now be Serbs and Balkan type people jumping up and down and telling me I don't know my history. Well, bollocks to you, I don't care. That's what I would do as an experiment. Just because it's fun to, you know, I've done the whole mental experiment thing, what would happen, and looking at all the things that if this didn't happen, this wouldn't happen, and then this wouldn't happen, and all of these things would be better, and all of these things would be worse, and it goes on. And I did a video on the subject, and some people just didn't take it in the spirit that it was meant, which was disappointing, really, but there you go. Marquis 5150. When Pac-Man was released in the arcades in 1980. What was your take on it? Did you like the game? Was it massively popular there? It was massively popular here. Yes, huge. Kids cartoon show, sandwich boxes with stickers and pictures on them, Pac-Man this and Pac-Man that, and Pac-Man sweets and Pac-Man comics and Pac-Man, bloody Pac-Man everywhere you looked. Quite annoying, really. The game, I played it. I played it quite often, but like whenever I would go to an arcade, I would have a go at it. But I would only ever have one go at it, because predictably I wasn't very good at it. And I'm still not very good at it. And in all honesty, I think I prefer Miss Pac-Man. It's kind of more frantic, but in a different kind of way. Pac-Man, I just suck at it. Yeah, I like it. I just wish I was better at it. And I think I prefer shooting things to eating things. I'm not sure that's healthy. Maybe shooting things and then eating them. that would be good. Deer hunting. We don't have that over here. I don't think I would do it even if we did. I don't know, actually. I have to say, I mean, this is straying somewhat. In a survival situation, post-apocalypse, post-zombie apocalypse, whatever, if I had a hunting rifle or a bow and arrow or pointed stick, I could hunt and kill my own dinner. I would be able to hunt animals, kill them, gut them, skin them, the whole thing, and eat them. I could do that. I would have no qualms about doing that. But I think as long as I can go to a supermarket and buy a chicken or something, or fish fingers or stuff to bung in the microwave or in the oven if I'm feeling adventurous, I would rather do that. You know, I'm not going to go and kill animals myself to eat them, as long as someone else is doing it for me, basically. It's the coward's way, really. I mean, perhaps there would be more vegetarians in the world, and the environment would be in a better condition because farming would be less intensive and blah, 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 if people who eat meat had to kill their own. It would be good for the world. Fewer animals would be killed, fewer resources would be spent feeding cattle. If you want to save the world, make it an international rule. Kill your own dinner. Never happened. Not realistic at all, but there it is. I could do it. Though actually not if it was like a walk onto a farm, pick a cow and shoot it in the head. No, I could hunt. I don't like this whole, you know, they've got to have a chance. Pit your wits against them. Don't have them like queuing up ready to die like in an abattoir, but make you the abattoir shoot in the head person, whatever they're called. Wow, how did that get off topic? That from Pac-Man? Good Lord. There you go. I think I'm done. That is all. That's a quick one this week. I was sort of... Was I rushing it because I thought I had more questions than I did? No, I kind of like to... I think most answers can be answered fairly quickly. So, if you have any questions... First things first, right, you may not all have noticed. If you have any questions and you're new here, relatively new, do please check the frequently asked questions first. There is a video, there's a link down there. You don't even have to watch the video. You can just read the stuff in the info bar below it if you feel like it. If the question has already been answered or asked or whatever, watch the video, you'll see the answer. So I'm not repeating myself. So, having said that, if you have any questions, leave a comment in this video or any that follow it. Begin with For Friday. If you don't begin with For Friday, I'll just answer your comment in the comments rather than in the video. Sometimes I let people off, but not always. And multiple questions that are, I mean, four questions in a row, gaming related, okay, is fair enough. I did get asked a ton of questions that had nothing to do with gaming, and frankly, that's not in the spirit of this channel, and don't do that. Okay, have I got anything else to say? Well, I put up one video on Benway's World already, which was like, do you believe in ghosts? Which was an interesting subject. It was like a video response to Lorne Boyd's post, who was responding to someone else. And I'm going to be putting up another one on there later, which is just a quick look at Sheffield and then driving home. So if you like road trip videos, there'll be one on Benway's World as well. Yeah, coming up here, more gameplay. I don't know. I've got a load of stuff on PSP that I could do. I've got a ton of stuff on PS1 that I could do, but I'm thinking maybe back to the Mega Drive because views are dwindling slowly, gradually, and I think people may be getting bored. Don't know. I mean, everything's slumped a bit since I dropped the Friday Talkie, but I expected that, so I certainly can't complain. Yeah, that will do then. Thank you for watching.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider clicking the thumbs up button. I upload videos daily, so go ahead and hit subscribe if you'd like to see more. To all those who've already subscribed, I'd just like to say a great big thank you.